It's Talking Joe x Declan Shalvey right now.
Live from the Talking Joe studios. It's Talking Joe.
Talking Joe is on the air.
Hey, it's me, Mark, and welcome to Talking Joe, the G.I. Joe comics podcast. Now, today we are celebrating again the Cobra Silent Missions month of April. We've got 5 issues out, and the first one out the gate is the Baroness issue, created by Jöelle Jones on art, but more importantly for today, Declan Shalvey on writing. That's not the normally way you'd say it, but let's go with it. And he's joining me today. Hiya, Dec.
Hey, how's it going, man? I felt like I should be doing the Baroness pose. The sultry, yeah. Yeah, thanks for having me. I like how Jöelle is credited first, because I saw him like, son of a bitch, I'm writing it, I should. Actually, I was somebody who was always pushing for, like, it's actually not bad to have the artist credited first.
Yeah.
Plus, it's also really about her anyway. So.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Remember those days? So yeah.
Yes.
I'm
typical writer. All go into your heads.
Yeah, once you're on the other side of the fence, everything changes. The whole color spectrum changes. It becomes all about you. No, rightly so. Like, I think especially because of the silent books, it's really about the art. It's a showcase for the artist, clearly. So, it's fine. I'm fine with it. It's great.
Yeah. As long as you've taken a significant hit to your normal page rate by not having dialogue, then it's all
not how it works, my friend.
It's got to be so much easier. Surely, we'll get there in a second.
Yeah,
I'm being flippant.
I would disagree actually, but we can get into it.
Yeah, I am definitely being flippant there. So, as an introduction to those who don't know you quite so well, Declan Shalvey, Irish comic creator, known for his art on books such as Moon Knight, Deadpool, Wolverine, Venom, and more at Marvel, Batman at DC, his many covers, and creator-owned comics like Injection, Time Before Time, Old Dog, and so on. He was recently a triple threat creator as writer, artist, and cover artist for Mystique at Marvel. And at recent times, you have expanded out as a writer, including runs on Terminator and the relaunched Thundercats. And out in April is the latest expansion with Thundercats X, Silverhawks, however you pronounce that, 5-issue event miniseries. And you will be drawing the first issue with a bumper, 30 pages. But none of that matters. It all pales into significance because you are the writer of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, Silent Missions, Baroness, release Wednesday, April the 1st, 2026.
Well, thank you for all your very good research and then just flushing it down the toilet.
Is it Thundercats X, or how are you pronouncing it?
Yeah, well, now I'm saying it out loud. I guess it's like Thundercats 6 Silverhawks. But no, I think there was back and forth whether it should be versus or X. But I think X is the thing everyone's doing these days.
Yeah.
Collabing.
Collab,
I guess that's what it is. It's Talking Joe x Declan Shalvey right now.
Oh, wow. Let's clip that.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's I think it's just the we're just going for the X. Yeah, it could have been slash, it could have been and, it could have been versus, but we're going X.
Mm-hmm. So quite often we'll start with a question about where our interviewee is. So can you tell us where you are today and what sort of space you're in?
Yeah, I am in a small room in the west of Ireland. I am looking out at a car park outside my house. And a couple of schools, like a school I used to go to even when I was a kid. So I live in my hometown of Ennis in County Clare.
And would you call this your like studio room that you're in at the moment?
I would always call it a studio. Some people call it an office, but it's nothing too fancy. Just like a box, a cupboard full of comps. I have all the pages I'm working on, books I've bought that I really should have read by now, but there's 30 of them. My Star Trek models, my Batmobile, and I have like all the books I've worked on in that white cabinet.
Oh, wow.
There.
Hmm.
And that is Black Widow page and an injection cover by JP Leon.
Very cool.
I got before he died, obviously, and a Star Trek cover, and yeah. So it's I didn't ask any of those questions. Scanners over there, just get there's a bin right here. But yeah, it's just a basic. This is where I've worked for the last 2-3 years, roughly. But and yeah, anywhere I think I lived in Dublin, had a very nice kind of fancy studio,
Hmm.
like it's all neat, really. Like, and I just live in a small town.
Hmm.
It's nice and handy.
And you mentioned your comps down in that direction, and I guess as a prolific artist, particularly a cover artist, you must receive an enormous amount of comps. How do you deal with the volume?
That's a good question. I have a whole long box there that I put all my Thundercats. Just for comps from writing and covers, I get comps and Thundercats. So that every single Thundercats comp I have is in that box there, and that's just one book. Like a while ago, I tried to sort through them all the Marvel stuff and all the writing stuff and all that. But no, it's getting bad. I mean, it was already bad, but it's getting very, very, like, I have a cupboard just full of comps. And I try and maybe like have some for conventions. I've tried. Now these days do like a pack of 4 and like give them away. Sell them cheap. Just because you don't need 10 copies of each issue. You just don't. But they add up, especially if you're doing an ongoing book like Thundercats. There's 25 issues. Like,
and you're getting sent. You're getting sent each one of the variants as well. And
but if I didn't get them, I'd be raging. So you can't have it both ways. If I didn't get comps for an issue, I'd be like, "What the fuck?" But like, I just throw them on a pile.
Okay, so in terms of GI Joe, let's talk about your history with GI Joe. When did you first come into your horizon, and kind of what's been your encounters with GI Joe from Baby Deck up to this point?
I'm afraid it's very slim. Like, doing Thundercats and being kind of part of the 80s comics revival thing, if you want to call it that. So I loved Turtles growing up, but GI Joe, I think I have friends who are like 2 years older than me that were big GI Joe fans, and something that's kind of come to my realization with Thundercats too is like, you forget when you're a kid the difference between a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old and whatever it is huge. Not much difference between 27, 28 or what have you, but when you're a kid, something hit, like, say for example Power Rangers. I have friends who are crazy about it. I care nothing for them. I remember them I remember them on TV, but they were just, I thought they were stupid. And you forget as well, you're a kid, you're very judgmental. Like, this action adventure thing is way dumber than X-Men.
Let's hope you're not announced as the next writer of the Power Rangers. Otherwise, this will come back to haunt you.
I'll do it. But like, it was just a thing that's it was same as like Pokemon, or when you get a little bit older and stuff, like, that's for kids, not me. I'm cool. So I think,
like, if I was a couple of years older, I'd be into Action Man and wouldn't care about GI Joe at all. If I was a couple of years younger, I'd be like Pokemon and I don't know, whatever else. I was a 1978 baby. So
okay, so you're okay. Yeah, you're 4 years older than me. So I think that's probably why you're a Joe head and I'm not.
Exactly. Because it was this short amount of time where it peaked and then kind of
and then
that's the difference.
Yeah. So I think I missed the boat on it, but I do remember the GI Joe toys a lot. And I hated them because they didn't match my Star Trek figures and my Turtles figures, because they were all what are they? They're 6-inch? What are like the standard toys?
The standard ones are like 3 3/4 inch, like.
But generally action figures were like 5
a little
inch or
bit
6
bigger.
inches.
Depending on what
that's
it was.
Why
like 5, 6.
I hated the Joe ones because they, I would play like with. I'd play like with my Star Trek and Turtles and Batmans, I could do my crossovers, but G.I. Joe didn't make sense for me because they were too small. Even though they were very cool and they were way more, now
articulated.
Those they were more articulate. The way toys are now articulated, larger size is great, but like they weren't like that back then. They were more blocky. But the Joe ones were actually class. The thing is, I just didn't know who they were, so I thought the toys were cool, but I didn't know the characters. So I was never really a Joe guy. Again, aware of them, but like I don't think I've ever saw the cartoons. I didn't even see the movies, but then I heard the movies weren't great.
You're not missing
like from Joe fans. I have no judgment. And although I know somebody who was in one of those films, but yeah, so I'm afraid my Joe knowledge is very, very limited. I read the Duke Energon series. I haven't read the G.I. Joe one yet, but I know Duke is a Joe. So because I did the cover. I don't know if you notice anything about that cover.
Well, it looks like he's standing on the head of a transformer or something similar, and he's also facing left, which is less usual for a comic cover.
True. I don't know why I did it though, actually. But yeah, that was it because they hadn't announced. I don't think it was known that the Transformers were coming into it yet. So I knew it was. So I'd heard through like the comic, the whispers that was happening. So I asked if I could make it a Decepticon. The Decepticon symbol, or no? Is it the Autobot? That's the Autobot. I can't remember now. Oh God, my brain's gone. But I wanted to. It was one of the symbols. I think it was the Decepticon symbol. But I made
looks
that
more spiky.
3D. Yeah, I made the 3D head, but like cropped it so that you can't actually tell it's because nobody was looking for Transformers at the time, so nobody was seeing them. But like, I'm glad I was cool that Skybound let me kind of, secretly kind of put that in there. But no, so yeah, I did the cover for the book. But I'm a big fan of Tom Riley's stuff. I think he's an amazing artist. So I read the hell out of that Duke book. I thought it was great. But I haven't gotten around to the Joe book yet. But I will. But it's more because I'm a fan of Tom's work.
But yeah, it's even better. I think Tom just gets better and better. He's incredible.
I'm not a fan of that. I wish he'd get worse because I don't really take it.
Showing you up.
But no, I feel bad, man. I guess you said when you reached out, I'm like, I'm just not a big Joe head, so I don't want the fans to think that I'm.
That's right. I think it takes all sorts, and everyone has to be a first time for everyone. And this is from my big beautiful Joe sketchbook drawn in Plymouth. It looks like that says 2018 or flattened line.
I think you had to show me some reference too because I didn't know how to draw them.
so that was my first knowledge that maybe you didn't know too much about G.I. Joe, because I said, can you draw a G.I. Joe character? And you said, well, I probably can, but I'll warn you that I don't really know anything about them. But yeah, you did a grand job, and this was one of the days when you were sort of in that stage where you were experimenting with bringing along some watercolors to the cons. So you were adding a bit of a splash of color to this Snake Eyes.
It was short lived. I didn't really know what I was doing, but no, I'm happy with that. That's a good one. I'm glad I'm not embarrassed.
Very good. So let's I mean, we could talk briefly on your career that you broke in. How many years ago was it? It's quite a while. Yeah, I mean, was it 28 Days Later was the big breakthrough book, maybe?
Yeah, I was doing UK based stuff. I was doing like small press stuff in Ireland, and my first big job was actually, so I found it today in the local library. Actually, it was a Frankenstein graphic novel for Classical Comics, and that was a UK publisher, but they were doing books for like they were doing like, it was Frankenstein in the original Mary Shelley wording, and then they do a kind of a simplified version for younger readers, and they did that with Shakespeare, stuff like that, like where they do more kind of simplified language so that kids could understand the story through comics, and then they could go and they could read the more proper Shakespeare version, stuff like that. So I did that, and I did a Sweeney Todd graphic novel, and that was great. That was my first getting to work in comics was huge for me, but I knew that like I could nobody in the States is going to be reading UK like education based comics. Like there's nothing wrong with any of that. It's just if I'm trying to like
Yeah.
make a name for myself, staying on those books wasn't going to do it. And as it turned out, I got an offer to do 28 Days Later, and I did a tryout, and I didn't get it. Somebody else got it. But I think whoever got it got a Marvel job, and then all of a sudden they needed somebody to draw the book, and they called me back. So that's my glorious breaking in story. Is somebody bailed, but so that was I think 2019 maybe when that book came out. Sorry, 2009. 10 years before that. Oh god. 2009, and then 2010 is when I got my first Marvel gig. That was like about a year later, and so I broke in as an artist, and I was there for years, and then I did Moon Knight with Warren Ellis, and that kind of like you read Thunder Bolts. I remember, right?
Yeah.
Did you read it? Yeah, because remember, you collected. So that was kind of that was a fun book. It was a big superhero book, but it was kind of like, it wasn't a big profile book. It was kind of a C-list book with like, not big characters. So we got to do a lot of really fun stuff on that. And it was a great place to kind of like get comfortable at Marvel. And then moved on to Venom, and then Moon Knight with Warren, which changed everything really. And then kind of got into Create Your Own Space, Batman, and I kind of then I started writing my own stuff, and then other things kind of came along. So I'm in a very weird, not weird, it's a great place to be in, where I'm writing and drawing my own stuff, be it like a licensed thing or creator owned, and I'm writing like something for somebody else, or maybe creator owned stuff. So I have basically a finger in multiple pies, which is not where I thought. That's not where I thought my career was going to be when I was a kid. I thought I'd just like draw and that would be it. But it's a great place to be. It's made it that I can kind of be not picky about what I work on, but like I'm actually kind of lucky. Everything I get asked to do is something like Terminator. I never thought I'd be asked to do that, but I'm like, yeah, that's class. Or Alien beforehand. I'm like, who would think of me to write an Alien story? But they did ask, so I'll do it. So yeah, it's a very straight. I couldn't have predicted things would go this way, but it's a great place to be in.
Absolutely, and as a writer, as an artist, sort of turned writer, artist turned in some cases just writer. It's quite it's quite unusual for that kind of dynamic of someone who's sort of in that artist space to be just purely the writer, and as well. There's not too many examples of people having that kind of that career arc. I guess Jimmy Palmiotti.
I guess. I mean, you forget that there's a lot of writers start out as artists. Remember, Brian Michael Bendis was trying to break in as an artist. Right. And like that didn't work out, but I think he's doing fine.
Sometimes they say, "Well, I wasn't really good enough as an artist, so I had to become a writer."
No, I was good enough as an artist. It's debatable whether I'm good enough as a writer.
I think you've earned your cred.
Well, I do have. You do have some. I think in some ways you could be asked to draw. I think early on I was asked to write something. I think maybe some editors know that like they want to write their own stuff. This artist has gotten full of themselves, and now they think they can write their own stuff, so they'll offer you things to write to get you to draw them. Which it's not a bad way to get work either. I'm not complaining, and I think some editors are smart like that. They'll be like, well, he probably won't just draw it, but if we could get him to write it too, that might convince him, and it does work in lots of cases. And I thought that might be the thing where I'd get writing work, but then it turned into just getting like Alien. I didn't draw. I ended up drawing some of it near the end, but the first arc was just writing, and I think I did one cover. I like doing covers to books I write. I have a bit. I get a sense of more ownership without having to do any of the actual hard work. It feels like, yeah, I did this, even though I didn't. But yeah, I mean, last year I wrote, I drew half an issue of Mystique and 2 short stories. That's all I.
Oh wow.
That's all the story stuff I did last year. I've already beaten it by this year by 1 month, and that's not what I thought. I think that's when I realized actually maybe I am a writer, is when people were just looking for writing and weren't looking for drawing. Because you have to kind of get you have to get in your own head too of like, am I just really faking my way into this career?
And when you're writing, you still approaching it like visually? Do you still like sketch things out, or do you just deal with the words on a page?
No, I don't. I don't sketch anything out because I feel I think it crosses a line for whoever's drawing it. I want to have a sense of ownership over everything I write, but I also don't want to be one of those guys who I think when I worked with Andrea Briccardo on Alien, he told me he was scared to work with me because he thought I'd be very like, this is what I want you to do. I'd be very controlling. But like that's not how I work. Like I think I learned to do it from working with Warren actually on Injection and on Moon Knight, where he'd have something very specific in mind here and there, and he would want you to do that. But 90% of the time, it's, do what you like. And I think I'm kind of the same. Like if an artist feels like that they're in control of the visuals, which not feels like, they are. But if you start kind of, I want to project a sense, maybe an aesthetic of my own. But like, there's no point working with another artist if you're not going to like work with them. And I think doing things like drawing stuff for them, I think that crosses a line, and it makes it seem like I'm the auteur here and you're just the person drawing my vision, which, I think you can kind of you'll maybe even fall into that trap sometimes. But because I've been the guy drawing that stuff, I don't want my collaborator to feel that way. Now, sometimes if it's just a thing where like I can't quite describe the thing, I think sometimes I'll have it in the script. I'll try to describe something and I'll say, if you want me to draw it, let me know. I remember my first script with Jeff Parker, or one of my first ones with Jeff Parker. He had a similar thing in Thunderbolts. I remember he had some kind of device and he offered to draw it, and I said yes because I wanted to see him draw. I don't think he actually didn't do it in the end. I had to figure it out. But little things like that, like I know it might seem like I'm kind of being overly worried, but it is as an artist, you're drawing a script for so long. Like what takes me a week to write takes an artist maybe a month or a month and a half to draw. And it can be, if you're feeling down or you're feeling put out or you're feeling like you're not really being appreciated, it makes the job a lot harder. So I think stuff like that, like we're doing layouts for other people, things like that, I think I'd only ever do it if I was asked by the artist. Otherwise, I think it just feels like you're just kind of stepping on their toes a little, and they probably won't say anything. But I don't know. I don't want to. I think stuff like that can really get to the back of your mind, and that can end up crippling people sometimes.
Yeah, and I've heard stories about some writers, particularly sort of more visually oriented writers, potentially sort of sketching something out for their own benefit, and then just screwing up and putting a bin and never passing it on to the artist.
Yeah, I think like Grant Morrison, I think I've heard that about, maybe.
Grant Morrison, yeah, definitely.
Which, that makes sense, but I think visually, like again, to praise Warren again, but some writers you'll work with and they don't have a good visual sense. But like, working with Jeff Parker, he was an artist, so he had a good visual sense. Brian Wood was the same. But Warren isn't an artist, but yes, his visual sense was fantastic. So you end up reading the script and it all kind of clicks really easily, like I'm not a verbose writer in scripts, but I do maybe if I'm establishing a scene, I'll write a lot to describe what needs to be in there, just so that the artist knows, but I don't think I need to do that, like drawing things out, because I have an image in my head already. So it's more of a case of describing it on the page in a way that like doesn't also because sometimes a big block of text in a script is really annoying to. You're like, oh Jesus Christ, I gotta read this.
Okay, time to get the highlighter pen out.
Yeah, exactly. I did have a script where I had to get a highlighter pen out. I'm like, I would never do this to somebody else. So it's a way of keeping it kind of bright and not bright, but light and not bogging somebody down in a reading exercise. But I think my strength as a writer isn't necessarily writing; it's that I have a fairly good visual sense, so I know how to write a comic. I don't know if I could write other mediums. I haven't tried, but I think I know how to make a comic.
Yeah. And a lot of what you're writing has got an audience of one, which is the artist who's got to draw it. So it's a very different kind of experience, isn't it? So bringing it back round to G.I. Joe and Silent Mission's Baroness, let's talk about how you got involved in the project. So I know from your Declarations newsletter, I think the first time you mentioned this as Project Quiet was in June 2025. So this has been in the hopper for a little while.
Yeah, for a one shot, it's been a long process, but I think Skybound are really good for working well ahead of time. Thundercats and Terminator is a lot more flying by the seat of your pants comics making, but I think Dark Horse and Skybound have a good reputation for like scheduling the shit out of things, like way ahead of time. But what happened was I was at a show. I was at C2E2 in Chicago last year, and I was talking to Jöelle, who I've like only really gotten to know in the last couple of years. But I know her work for years, Batman and
Lady Killer
and Wonder Woman, and so I knew her work well, but I just didn't know her personally that well. I got talking to her that year, and she asked if I'd be interested in. She was offered. Again, I hope none of this is out of school or anything, but I think she was offered to write and draw the Baroness thing, but I just didn't think I think she just wasn't really interested in writing. And I do kind of get that, having written a lot, because I know she wrote like Wonder Woman and lots of stuff. I'm a little bit more bullheaded right now, where I just want to draw stuff that I write. But the problem is, I'm writing Mumra right now, and I'm writing something else, and I'm writing something else, and I'm like, there's another thing to do. What's the other thing to do? Oh yeah, the thing I'm fucking. Sorry for the swearing, by the way. I'll try to stop. You forget that also you have to draw something, and you're like, oh, I got to write that bloody thing as well. So I kind of do see the appeal of like just switching off the inception bit, where for me, writing, a lot of it is like making building the machine, and drawing is just getting to play in that playground. So I think maybe I haven't asked her, but I suspect she just didn't really want to build a playground. So she asked me, and I'm like, I think you should do it. You don't need me at all. And but I think she's like, I just don't really want to write right now. I was like, fine, I'll slum it. Because no shade to anyone I've worked with before, but like I tend to kind of work with people who creator-owned wouldn't be very known, and I try like give them a project where they can be spotlighted. Or at Marvel, I'm, as the writer, I'm the born no name, and I'll be paired with maybe a newer artist that Marvel have brought in, something like that. I'm not writing for Ryan Stegman or Steve McNiven or Chris Picciolo. You know what I mean? Like, as creators coming in, you kind of like, you'd be paired with people who kind of like to big you up. But like, I'm not saying I get paired with everyone to big them up, but like, I have not been paired with anyone to big me up. We put it that way, Andrea on Alien, I didn't really know his stuff, but he'd been around for years. He'd done a lot of really good stuff. I just didn't know him personally. I think what else? I was
just say you're like the bizarro Mark Miller, who will only work with amazing creators.
Yes, I'll only work with terrible creators. No, I'm just kidding.
It's giving them a platform to
talent aside. I'm not talking about talent. Just like I feel as gross talking about it, but like the optics of who's big and who's not, or what have you. And like as an artist, I always try to work with writers who are bigger than me, because it helps you for the work you have to put in. It builds you up. and as a writer, I guess I don't have as much control maybe over what I take. Oh, maybe that's not true. I'm just thinking out loud now. But Jöelle is definitely the first person. I mean, I would put Jöelle, like, she's more. It's weird between Marvel and DC, but I would say she's more known than I am as an artist. Like, she's worked on much bigger books. So this is the first time I've worked with somebody who's like definitely more known than me, which is great. That's a nice change from the other, where the other way I get to feel like I'm a big deal, whether I am or not is a whole is debatable. But like, I do not feel like the big deal on this. Put it that way. Because also I think Skybound don't give a toss whether I wrote it or not. Because they emailed me saying like, "Oh, I heard you and Jöelle were talking about this," and I'm like, I didn't know how this works because I've never worked with Skybound before. So if I'm being honest, I don't think they care that I'm on this book at all. They just wanted Jöelle. I think Jöelle just wanted somebody else to write it. And as a fan of Joelle's, like, it was such a cool opportunity to get to do just creatively. Also, like, who, you put, say, Jöelle Jones and Baroness, like, who doesn't want to see that? And I get to kind of come up with how that happens. So no, it was really, it's a very different gig for me in both scheduling and spotlight and, and the characters too, like I feel bad. Like I had to look up, but I knew Baroness, like I knew the character, I knew what she looked like. But also I had to check because I know there's the Energon universe and then there's the All-American Heroes universe. That had to be explained to me. I knew the Energon thing was a new thing, but I didn't know that Skybound were doing
the two things.
Yes, yeah. So that was, so again, I felt like more of an idiot. I'm like, oh God, why? I hope I don't get caught for being a total bloody faker. But sorry, yeah, I'm blabbing.
That's what editors are for, I guess, to help you have a safety net that you don't go too far off the direction. I had
read the Duke one that Wes did. I'm a big fan of Wes Craig, and I knew he did the Duke Sssilent issue, so I had read that. I really liked it. So actually, the only thing I really knew was Duke between that and the miniseries. But no, it was Alex Anton, yeah. When he sent me all the Sssilent issues for the previous one, he told me they were doing them for the villains now, and I didn't know Baroness would be the first one. But like I love Sssilent stories. I like kind of did one in Nick Fury. I did a Sssilent annual for Alien. I did a Sssilent issue in Thundercats. I've actually done a good few Sssilent stuff, and I love Sssilent comics. I think they're fantastic. When you're as an artist, you're often like, people say like, "Oh, I'm not sure how to read them," and might say to people like, "If you can't read it, then I haven't done my job as the artist. You should be able to read it without dialogue. That's the ultimate test, for an artist." But so getting to do stories that are just going to be read like that is really cool.
I noticed as well your name attached to one of the new Quiet Place issues. I'm guessing you're doing a variant cover for that.
Yeah, I did a cover for issue 2, I think it was. That's. I mean, the cover is different, but like actual storytelling is a whole. Because that's it. I think like apparently you're like, oh, silent story. This will be easy to write. So dialogue wise, yes. Like, nice. I don't need to write any dialogue. But it's a lot harder to, like I said before, is like when you're doing a script, just like you're building the playground. But like, if only you and me understand the playground, then anybody watching, it won't make sense. Who's watching Playgrounds? This is going down a dark path. Like, you know what I mean? That like, if you and me are just having fun, but like it's for an audience and the audience doesn't understand, then that's a problem. So I need to try and make sure that like what I'm constructing for the artist flows like downstream in a readable way as much as I can. Like, because you can't, I don't want to say you're directing the artist, but you're creating the space in which they play, I guess. Yeah, like I said. So it's the best way to look at it.
So you're starting on this project. You've got, I guess, a few things going on. You've got I guess, research to do to kind of understand a little bit more about this world. You've got probably ideas percolating just as an instant reaction to a fun Silent Story, you've got a co-creator who might have ideas of some sort of their own, and then you've got an editor who's might be ushering you in another direction as well. So how's it all come together as the first few steps to kind of getting this show on the road?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because it's always different. Say, when I worked on Alien, there's because all these things have licensors you're dealing with. Licensed comics. Like Alien was like I don't want to say hard. There were challenges working with 20th. Not complaining. Just there was probably more things to talk about. Thundercats and Terminator have been very hands off, which is great. And then you're working with Skybound, who have their own they have their own thing going on. This isn't that. It's more, it's the All American Heroes part of it. But like they also have license to deal with, so everything's new, and you don't really know. Also, I'd never worked with Alex before, so things can seem fine. You don't know how they're going to go, but I think it was all fine. I mean, because it's a one shot and it's silent, so it's not like there's a lot of stuff to get caught up in.
Yeah.
I
feel like it's when we were talking about the when we were talking about last April when they did the 5 previous issues, this is in the real American Hero universe, which is kind of the Larry Hama universe, and he's got a very strong voice of his own, and I think having no dialogue means that it's one part of the puzzle that could make you feel out of place, because you don't have to have the voice exactly right,
which is the big thing. Because I was trying to do my research at Baroness, but then also different continuities and different publishers. There's different histories, so I actually found it very hard to start. I'm like, her name is this, but it's this also, and she it's. Again, I didn't understand this initially, that it was the All American Heroes. So once I knew, that clarified things a lot for me. But there would be some cases where maybe an editor suggested something, and then it went through to the licensor, and the licensor would suggest something, but that's actually what I had in the first place. Weird things can kind of happen like that. But you have to work with the editor, because they're the ones who work with the licensor, and they'll generally know they don't like that, don't do that, or it just happened on a cover I was doing for something else, and they were like, oh, well, the licensor generally tends to flag this, so keep that in mind when you're doing that. Little things like that, but also the editors changed because Alex went on paternity leave. While I was actually writing it, I think. So Ben Abernathy stepped in.
Okay.
And then I think by the time I was finished, Ben was off it again, and Alex came back in. That's a long process. I guess it's maybe 4 months or something. But it wasn't too bad, though. Like I said, I didn't have to have the voice right. Just you maybe have to kind of justify the actions. It's why is she doing this? Why isn't she doing that? And you have to kind of explain where you're coming from. And then they're like, oh, okay, But then again, if they didn't get it, maybe you have to do a better idea. Or sorry, you have to do a better job of signaling that. Well, things like that. Jöelle, to be fair, just kind of let me off. I just really checked with her to see what she would like to draw. It's kind of the most boring question you can ask an artist, but it helps. And she wanted to draw stuff.
Cinema seats? Cinema?
No, I'm from talking to her beforehand. I know that she loves theatre. Well, I wouldn't mind drawing those because it's just one shape over and over again. But no, she loves big, elegant, fancy backgrounds. She told me she showed me something she was working on, and it had all these very ornate, just very elaborate backgrounds, and I will be like, oh, that I would never want to draw that shit. So I just tried to think of what would I hate to draw. And I did. I checked with her first. I said, this is what I'm thinking. I've thought of this really lovely setting that would be beautiful and elegant and interesting, that I would never want to draw, but I knew she would. And I did ask her recently. I was like, I hope you're liking the pages. And she's like, oh, I really like the location. I'm like, good, because that was the one. There was 2 things with Jöelle that I had kept in mind, was that drawing beautiful things, the stories takes place in an opera house, So I'm like, okay, she'll like drawing that. She will like drawing elegant dresses and people in fancy outfits and things like that. Like, not me. No, I would draw everyone in rags if I could get away with it. But I also love espionage. Like, because also this was cool for me. I love doing espionage stuff. So like a character like Baroness, right up my alley. So even though I didn't know her very well, this is a genre that I'm very comfortable in. And also, when you're writing, if there's moments you're like, oh, like you could see it in your head and you'd like to draw it. I always feel like that's a good test for me, is like, would I like to draw this? And I'd like to draw the storytelling. I just wouldn't like to draw the backgrounds. So that was it. It's you're trying to make something that anybody can read, but also something that like the artist is, again, because it's silent storytelling. You really need to give the artist something to work with. So I really, they say a script is a love letter to an artist. So like I went through Joelle's right here, Lady Killer, because I know she really cares about that book. She wrote it and drew it. I think that's like her as a storyteller distilled out. Pardon me, sorry. Distilled down into something, the most pure version of her. So I went through that book. I looked at like how many panels she used, like how her storytelling was, and I thought it was very similar to mine, my kind of pacing. So I was like, okay, I feel like, there's artists who want like 16 panels a page, and there's artists who want 3. So I needed to figure out what her pacing was, and it was quite similar to mine. So once I knew that, I figured it was really the only changes were cosmetic, basically. Like I said, the location, everything else, I felt like we would gel fairly nicely. But I also don't know, because I haven't really talked to her since, because I know she's got other projects too. So once I handed in the script and I asked, like, is it all right? And she's like, yep. I was like, okay. So I've been dying to see pages. So she sent them to me this week, and it looks fantastic. But I literally haven't seen, like, the book was announced. I'm like, oh, wow, like, we're with Jöelle Jones. I hadn't seen anything yet. Except the cover. I saw the cover, like everybody else. Yeah. So now that I've seen the pages, I'm very happy.
Very good. Yeah, I mean, for me, this is an unusual interview in terms of writing, talking to you as a writer. You know what the story looks like, and until what the story on the written page looks like, but less so the visuals until just this week gone. Whereas I'm completely in the dark beyond just the cover and the blurb for this one. So it's a spoiler free one from me by default, because I don't have anything to spoil at the point of recording, which is interesting. So. But so once you'd got the script, you'd had a bit of back and forth, a few changes with editorial, and then sort of just able to take your hands off it and say, Jöelle is now just over to her to draw it. And is that normal? Is that normal excitement of seeing the pages or the issue coming in? Is there's normally quite a big bit of anticipation, or does it vary project by project?
Always. No, there's always anticipation to see this stuff. It's just, I think maybe this one, it just faded away a little just because it had been so long since I'd written it. And I hadn't reached out to Jöelle since, because again, I knew she had something else she was also working on. So like, I didn't want to be like, have you drawn it yet? Have you drawn it yet? Like, I'm trying to be cool. But like with other stuff I do, I'm way more in the weeds of things. With Thundercats, I know, like, I see pages coming in one by one with Drew, or I'm a lot closer to the bone on all those books. So also, I've just been busy with those anyway. So I kind of just filed the Baroness story away once it was finished. Yeah. And just some things, you just let them take the time to take. And again, I had the script in so early. I'm sure it was to give Jöelle lots of time to work on the story too, or work it around her schedule. So like stuff, because I've been on that side of things, I know to just like leave it alone. Also, again, I cannot stress this, I do not think Skybound give a rat's fuck about me. So I think you see sometimes where like there'll be a project with a brilliant artist and there's like a writer on it, and good for him or her who's on the project, but no one fucking cares. there. Let's just say let's just say it's me and Olivier Coipel. Okay, I'm writing it, and Olivier Coipel is drawing it in this fantasy scenario, which will never happen. But let's just say it does happen. No one cares about me. They want Olivier Coipel happy drawing that book. So, but you'll see there's guys like who were trying to like get in at like, oh hey, look, I'm a big deal too. It's like no. We're here for a pal. So that's kind of how I feel on this book. I was very happy to be asked. It was very nice of Skybound to ask me, even though it was Jöelle who asked for me. And I cannot stress, like, they were great to work with. Everyone was really nice. I'm not saying like, these guys don't. I'm not saying it in any kind of sense of like bitterness. I'm just like, I think I'm just being realistic. They want Jöelle drawing Baroness. If I were them, I'd want exactly the same. Who's writing it? Anyone, whoever, whatever. Just as long as Jöelle draws Baroness. So I think I have a fairly healthy view of my place in this project.
I think you're being very modest. I think you've got enough on
no
your.
one accused me of
that. But you've got enough on your CV here now as a writer that I think you're at a level that maybe it's no strange thing to be seeing you
thanks,
approached, and particularly with the success of things like Thundercats, where you're kind of the showrunner on that one, as I see it anyway, and it's so that's been a giant success, and up to this point, it didn't feel like kind of Thundercats was in that zone of that kind of tier of books. So
yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was when I took it on. I just thought it was going to be a fun 12-issue series, and then the numbers for issue 1 came out, and now it's a kind of a line of books, which is
it's a line, like it's like an Energon universe. It's the Thunderverse or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, which is it's crazy. I'm very grateful for it. I really enjoy it, but also it's fun to just do something like this. Like to just creatively silent project, make that work with someone like Jöelle in that world. Like it wasn't a huge task. It's not like a mini series or something. These kind of one shots can be tough because you're trying to get a lot in on a one-off thing, but no, they're cool challenges, and like and I know I was fucking around there, but like no, it was cool. I love what Skybound are doing on a lot of stuff. I just thought they're doing Mask now. Oh, that's so cool. What they're doing, the Transformers stuff, some stuff that I've heard about that's coming out is really weird and interesting. Like massive respect to what they're doing, and also these silent things are really cool. Like I like when publishers are not just doing the one thing, they're trying other stuff, or they're experimenting with storytelling and stuff like that. So of all the this is a cool, like, who else is doing these? It's like Gabriel Hardman and off the top of my head I can't remember.
Let me put it on the screen.
Yeah, you should know.
Yeah, I do know, but I so it is Gabriel Hardman, then it's Pat Olive with Tom DeFalco, then it is that JLL artist Howard Porter, and then George Fornes, or Jorge Fornes, which is the one that I'm looking forward to particularly, because he's incredible. So yeah. I mean,
I see him do covers. I'm like, I wish I'd thought of that.
It's a murder's row of talent, and same as it was last year. They had.
Yeah, it's nice to be the first one too. Not being like selfish
first out the gate.
People. Yeah, it's great. Love the cover Jöelle too. No, it's a cool thing. It's a cool thing they're doing, and it's real. Of all the projects to be attached to, this is a really cool one. So I enjoyed the hell out of it. Again, it was a challenge. It was a little frustrating, but like all the good projects are, if everything's going off without a hitch, something's probably is going wrong. So no, yeah, I'm just talking myself in circles now. Like I'm just looking forward to everyone
and
seeing
maybe April 2027 we'll see a Declan Shalvey one shot where it's just your name above the
yeah, or some like crappy writer
Yeah. Who can we get
No,
into?
that'd be cool. I mean, as an writer artist, I'd love to do something like this. Totally. Like this is, it's kind of what I'm getting to do with the crossover. I'm getting to write and draw, the story in this thing. Like, not little, sorry, but like signature solo projects like these are really, really cool. Like, yeah, I would totally do one of these, even if I didn't know the character too well. Like, that's just an excuse to learn.
Yep. And it's a one story, and you can have the main character, and you can have a handful of other characters. You don't have to
I think there's
be
two different
all
ways to
over
do it.
the entirety of the lore. So
Yeah, you can be somebody who's like, let's just say, Destro, who is in this one shot. Like, I didn't want to have him in it because I didn't want to take away from Baroness, but it was explained to me that like Baroness fans are invested in that relationship. So I was like, okay, especially with like a solo female character, I didn't want to kind of make it about the guy that much, but also like a relationship angle is interesting too. So that was fine. But let's just say Destro, I know very little about him, but like if you give me 20 pages to tell a story, I could find something cool. But there's also people who like are, let's say, but maybe there's another artist who's a massive Destro fan. Like maybe he or she is the one to do it. But like also, if you're a massive fan of something, sometimes it can be a wrong thing to do because you like the character so much. It's it can
paralyzing.
Yeah, I had that problem with when I was doing Batman. I was like, I can't believe I'm going to get to do this, and then I was about to start, and I like collapsed, I crumbled. I'm like, what am I doing? So it's a double-edged sword, but I think what they're doing with this, like say with Gabriel Harriman and like whoever, I personally am more interested in like ones that are like a writer artist because I like, especially with silent storytelling. There's no risk of miscommunication between the collaboration. So I like that personally, but it's actually harder to write one for an artist to draw one, I think. So it'll be interesting to see how they all kind of pan out. But
yeah, I was going to say last year there was the 5, and 4 of the 5 I think were writer artists and not necessarily artists known for their writing. Like Leonardo Romero had a great issue, but I don't think of necessarily him as being a writer, but he did very well. And
he wrote and drew a story for my Old Dog anthology. And it was fantastic. Again, he's a great visual storyteller. But you're right, people may not know someone for that, but I think you can take a chance. Like actually, Nate Cosby is good at Dynamite for that. Like I see him giving artists opportunities to write. And at other publishers, you'll see editors giving artists a chance to write and draw. Like I said before, sometimes it can be maybe not a calculated move, but like also it can just be a cool thing to see. And yeah, that Romero one was fantastic.
And last year, the one that did have a writer combination was Dan Waters with Danny. And yeah, it looked amazing. But yeah, I don't think Danny had an interest in, or maybe it was just didn't have the story, didn't have confidence that she knew the world well enough to be able to.
Well, also her and Dan have collaborated a lot too. So it's good. Yeah, and I'd say he's actually a big. I'm not sure. I would say he's probably a G.I. Joe fan. But he's younger than me.
Yeah, well, he was less of a fan, but has become one because he wrote the Destro miniseries, and now of course he's doing Mask as well, which will be very exciting. And this year around, I think the other writer artist combination is Pat Olive with Tom DeFalco, which is, I think, it's more of a fun repairing of them, given their sort of history of producing comics together before. So it's getting a dream team back together to do something slightly different. So that's a lot of fun. But yes, let's do it. 2027. Cool. Was there anything else about the project that we've not talked about that you wanted to flag, like a particular a particular element that you thought worked particularly well, that when we'll see it you were very pleased with? Or
well, just probably like the massive falling out me and Jöelle had, just a huge bitter argument. No, just kidding. No, it's actually hard to say because it's not all done. Well, I mean, it doesn't need to be lettered as such, so it's fine. I haven't seen the colors yet, so there's still fun for me to see it come together. So yeah, I can't gauge it just yet, but I can say what I've seen looks beautiful. Like I kind of know Jöelle a lot for like kind of like stark black and white work, like on Batman and Ladykiller, but like she's doing a lot of this very kind of texture value work, a lot of kind of like gray rendering, like it looks like it's charcoal, but it's not. It's like digital, but it's like a lot of value rendering work that she's been doing more of in the last few years. I didn't know she was doing it on pages though. I've seen her do it on covers, but the pages are fantastic. So no, I've still need to haven't enjoyed it in its final form, but going by what I've seen, it looks great. So I will highly recommend it for every reason other than me being involved.
Very good. Yes, and the final step will be Mike Spicer on the colours, who's been doing a lot of work with the likes of Daniel Warren Johnson on Transformers. So I'm
very curious to see how that's going to look together. Those two, that's going to be interesting. But yeah, I haven't seen that yet.
Cool. So I think that just remains for me to say thank you so much, Declan, for joining me, taking the time out of your busy schedule, and an absolute treat to find an excuse to talk to you properly for this Talking Joe exercise, because been a big fan of what you've been doing for many years now. So it's great to have these worlds collide.
I'm glad I finally did something that justifies talking to me. But I know, man. Thanks a million. Fair play to you. I do love your little microphone logo thing with the snake eyes thing. I have to say, that's pretty cool for what it's worth.
Thank you. I've got a little thing on my actual microphone there as well.
Oh, very nice. See, I get it. I know what snake eyes is.
There we go. Yeah.
But no, thanks a million, man. Thanks for having me.
Cool. So, where's the best place for people to find you? I guess if they do a search for the Declarations newsletter, would that be the place you'd point people to? Yeah,
well, I would say if I go to my website, I have, everything's kind of up there, but also there's a link to the newsletter there. And I'm on Instagram and Twitter as Declan Shalvey, all one word. But the newsletter is probably the best place because, with social media, you can miss a lot of stuff. With the newsletter, I'll kind of like let people know what's coming up, or I'll give little peeks of like stuff people haven't seen yet, things like that. So that's bi-weekly. So I'd give that a go.
And if you are new to Talking Joe, talkingjoe.co.uk is the website. That's where we can be found, pointing us to the YouTube podcast platforms, Twitter, I still call it Twitter, Facebook, and Patreon. Big thanks to our Patreon members, as always, who find us at patreon.com/talkingjoe. And before I go, as always, we'll just wrap up by reminding our listeners that nobody beats Talking Joe, an international podcast. My co-host normally sings that, and so I can only get a fraction of what he achieves with that. But there we go.
Yeah, I can't pull off Thundercats Ho. I just not, I can't sell it. I've been forced to now and then.
Very good. Thanks so much. Until next time.
Thanks a minute, Mark.
Laters.